Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast, where I give you practical Stoic advice for modern times. If you'd like to see more information about this podcast, or if you'd like to see more of my free resources, just go to my website. It's risetothegoodlife.com. But for now, I really hope that you enjoy this podcast, and if you do, then I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe on iTunes and leave a positive review so that more people can have the chance to listen to this great work. Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast. How do we extend our lives? It's the ultimate question of our age. And scientists are always experimenting with new ways to prolong life, but in my opinion, this problem can be solved with a few simple Stoic philosophies. Seneca was a master at the art of extending life. His ideas and teachings on this subject are timeless and actionable. And so without further ado, here are my favorite lessons from Seneca on life extension. Lesson 1, quote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements, if it were all well invested. But when it is wasted in heedless luxury and spent on no good activity, we are forced at last by death's final constraint to realize that it has passed away before we knew it was passing. So it is, we are not given a short life, but we make it short. And we are not ill-supplied, but we are wasteful of it. Just as when ample and princely wealth falls to a bad owner, it is squandered in a moment. But wealth, however modest, if entrusted to a good custodian, increases with use. So our lifetime extends amply if you manage it properly." End quote. We all have more than enough time in our lives if we will use it correctly. There is no point in complaining that there is not enough time to do all that we want to do, because we all have exactly the same amount of time as any other person on earth. And if we will simply learn to use what time we do have, then we will realize that we don't need to extend our mortality, but we must instead become more resourceful with what we have. Our success in life has very little to do with our resources, and much more to do with our resourcefulness. Seneca's analogy of the wealth given to a bad owner is very insightful. When a person wins the lottery, it is most times the case that they return to their previous level of wealth within a few months or years of the win. This is because they have not yet learned how to use their money, and so they squander it. A seasoned handler of wealth knows the tricks and tactics, and so they not only get longer use out of what they have, but they increase their wealth. So it is with time and life. If we will learn how to use our time properly, we will never feel like we haven't had enough, and the enjoyment and vitality of our life will increase with its use. We must devote our time to important and fulfilling activities that will give us the experience of living. Those who spend their lives in a constant routine of boring and meaningless activities will soon find that they have become drones, never experiencing true life. It's not a long life that we're after, but instead the feeling of a full life, a life well lived. The second lesson from Seneca is this, quote, "People are frugal in regarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy." End quote. Why is it that we place so much importance on physical objects and possessions? These are the things that we can get at any moment. The one thing that we cannot buy is time, yet we place such little value on it. Start placing a higher value on your time. It is priceless and non-renewable, so don't be careless with the places, activities, and people who you give it to. Seneca's third lesson is this, quote, "You are living as if destined to live forever. Your own frailty never occurs to you. You don't notice how much time has already passed, but squander it as though you had a full and overflowing supply, though all the while that very day that you are devoting to somebody or something may be your last." End quote. Always remember that you will not live forever. Ask yourself every day, if I were going to die today, would I be doing what I'm doing right now? This is an incredibly empowering question, as it can immediately get your mind thinking about what is truly important to you, and what will bring you the most meaning and fulfillment in your day. We will all die, and we do not have the luxury of knowing when, so always assume that today could be your last. The next lesson is this, quote, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." End quote. This is one of the most insightful things that I've ever read, because often our fear is the only thing standing in the way of our success. But we justify our cowardly actions with the idea that maybe bad things will happen to us, even death. We use death as an excuse to not live. Then, when we are faced with vices or pleasures or poor habits, we act as if we will never die, and we never fix ourselves or grow because we are constantly procrastinating. We have become so obedient to our fears, but isn't obedience to fear just another form of death? A spiritual death? We live in the world of tomorrow. I'll exercise tomorrow. I'll eat healthy tomorrow. I'll apologize tomorrow. But tomorrow you may be gone. Now is the time to act and become a better version of yourself. Let death find you becoming better, not wasting away. Let death find you overcoming obstacles and fears, courageously moving forward to a better and more full existence. Seneca's next lesson is this, quote, "You will hear many people saying, 'When I am 50, I shall retire into leisure. When I am 60, I shall give up public duties.' And what guarantee do you have of a longer life? Who will allow your course to proceed as you arrange it?" End quote. Never put off until tomorrow what should be done today. Our lives should not be spent waiting for retirement. We should work to live, not live to work. Even the heart knows that it functions best under the ratio of 1 part work, 2 parts rest. You don't know if you will make it to retirement, so why would you spend your life preparing for something that is both uncertain and achievable now? Yes, we definitely all need to work, but surrounding this work should be rest, adventure, excitement, and love. These are all things that cannot be postponed. The next lesson from Seneca on life extension is this, quote, "Indeed, the state of all who are preoccupied is wretched, but the most wretched are those who are toiling not even at their own preoccupations, but must regulate their sleep by another's, and their walk by another's pace, and obey orders in those freest of all things, loving and hating. If such people want to know how short their lives are, let them reflect how small a portion is their own." End quote. We must be devoted to living for ourselves, at least most of the time. The person who says yes to everyone's requests will soon find that they have no time of their own, and that they are living for other people, not themselves. He is happy who fills his time with activities that are valuable and meaningful to his own vision of his life. Yes, time spent in selfless service is often the greatest time spent, but be sure that you're not living solely for other people. This is your life, so live it how you want to. If that means helping as many people as you can, that's awesome, and you'll have an incredible life and you'll feel extremely fulfilled. But if you have a different vision for your life, then chase after those plans. The second last lesson is this, quote, "Life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future." End quote. In other words, if we are to extend our lives, we must have enough tact to remember the lessons of the past so that we can be more effective today, to be present in this moment so that we can experience all that it has to offer, and to be bold and courageous in our march towards a brighter future, fearing only the things that will cause us to waste time that could have been spent living. And now the final lesson, quote, "It is inevitable that life will be not just very short, but very miserable for those who acquire with great toil what they must keep by greater toil." End quote. Simple is best for the person who wishes to extend their life. Be careful not to fill your life with items or possessions that will take your time away from the important things. You may want to buy a second home in another part of the country, but will it not require so much more of your time and effort once you've bought it? Couldn't you rent a home every time you go there? See, most people spend their entire lives working so that they can buy themselves some golden handcuffs. Yes, they're gold, but they're also tying you down. Most of the things that we think we need will only bring greater struggle into our lives. Everything that we need to be happy and to live a fulfilled life can be acquired with very little toil. So these have been my favorite lessons from Seneca on life extension. I'd really like for you to consider that we really don't need more time, but we really need to make better use of our time. The intelligent and industrious person will look back on their life, no matter how long, and feel content with the fullness and richness of the time spent. I've always said that I would rather live only 20 years, but have that time filled with things that I love to do, than to spend 50 years alive, but doing things that I absolutely hate. We don't need to live longer. We just need to live larger. So thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I really hope that you've gotten a lot of value out of it. I really appreciate your support for listening to this, and if you have any suggestions or feedback, please feel free to message me on Facebook, or just go to my website, which is risetothegoodlife.com, and you can go to my contact page and send me an email. So my Facebook page is Daily Stoic Quotes, and on there you can find heaps of awesome quotes from the best Stoic philosophers. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And on my website you can find heaps of other free blog posts and resources and all sorts of good stuff for you there. So feel free to check that out as well. But until next time, thank you so much for listening, and I'll be talking to you next week, and I hope that this episode has helped you on your rise to the good life. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I really hope that it's valuable to you, and I really hope that it helps you to live a better life. If it has been valuable to you, please don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and leave a positive review. If you'd like to see more free resources, just go to my website. It's risetothegoodlife.com.